Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. We are here to discuss careers in data science and artificial intelligence. Before we go ahead, I would give you a quick introduction about myself. I'm Meghna Khan, founder of MK Counselling Services, and I help the students in making the right career choices at the right time. I also align their passion, their strength, and their skills with the top career options available. Before we go ahead, I want everyone to understand the main reason I started MKCS was to provide unbiased and data-driven career guidance. So which made me think that let me come up with a series in which I can get the people, experienced people from the industry and put it across the parents, students, working professionals, experienced working professionals, and take valuable information from there, and it can help them in shaping up their careers. Today in our panel, we have Dr. Sibtain, who's a data scientist. He has done PhD from Nanyang University, Singapore. At Microsoft, he is responsible for leading ML conversations. He implements AI solutions to different Microsoft customers across the globe. We also have Mr. Umar. He's a veteran industry leader with more than 20 years of experience. He has 360-degree experience across sales, pre-sales, and development. He takes business needs of the customers across a vast array of industries, from manufacturing to banking, from government offices to aviation. And he has seen the industry right from the floppy disk days to the cloud days today. He's an electronic engineer and MBA by qualification, and he holds multiple certifications in sales, AI, and cloud. So we are going to start ahead with our discussion. Thank you for joining in. Dr. Sibtain, I would like to ask you one question. Is it mandatory for the field of data science and artificial intelligence to do engineering? What would be your advice for selecting the subjects at the young age for the students who want to go into this field? What are the skill sets which are required for being into the data science and artificial intelligence field? Over to you, Dr. Sibtain.
Hands-on, among the actual hands-on skills that you'll see, you'll find, the ability to code, write programs. That is one of the most important ones, but also an understanding of algorithms itself and some statistical analysis. They go kind of hand in hand. So yes, I would say having some sort of quantitative expertise in this is definitely a prerequisite.
So statistics can be a good subject to pick up for the students?
Statistics, maths itself, engineering. There's no special type of engineering. You could be an architectural engineer. I mean, we have actual marine engineers that are part of our data science team. So as long as you are familiar with those basics of mathematics and statistics, you can do well.
Yeah, so and to add to that, I think patience is another skill required for data science. You need to have a lot of patience, and you need to be comfortable with the ambiguity and working with ambiguity. That's a very key skill required for working in data science. Spending time with data sets where you have no clue what the outcome can be, looking for patterns which do not exist at that point of time. I mean, that's where there is no precedence, there is no code to copy, there is nobody to talk and take guidance from. It's you and your data, and you're working in that space. So it takes a different kind of approach, a different kind of mindset to approach projects and programs which are data science driven.
I agree. I mean, just on that, a couple of years ago when data science or AI were not buzzwords, these organizations would generally look for expertise in pattern recognition, and they would put it in job postings over there. And people who are familiar with those algorithms and can study that. That's what used to be there.
So data science and artificial intelligence terms have added gloss to the industry. It's more shining and selling.
A lot of confusion as well, I have to say.
All right. So, as you said, that even marine engineers, people from non-engineering background can also work, but the skill set which we are looking for is a good analytical mind. Statistics can also help, math is important, and programming as well is important.
Yep.
Okay. Does it goes the similar way for artificial intelligence as well? The same kind of skill set?
Yes, exactly. It's the same.
Okay. All right. Uh, Next, I have a very important question which I wanted to know, that in order to, what would be the growth curve which you will suggest for the students who are coming up for this field, that at what point of time they should expect some, because freshers, when they come out with their degrees, students who are in 11th and 12th, they just want to complete their engineering or their bachelor's course and go ahead and hit the market. And they just think that, industry will call them with a lot of high salary jobs. What would be the ground reality which you would expect, ask the student or suggest the students to expect, and they should start with that, and how soon they should measure their success in that field?
That's a good point. Umar, you want to go ahead or should I?
No, go ahead. I'll add to that. Yeah.
So I like this question because over the past year, we kind of saw a revolution in the industry where, Google coming in and announcing that you basically don't even need a graduate degree, right? You can do the courses for data science and machine learning and software programming, and we would hire you, right? What that means is they really don't care about which university you go to or what you study. All they care about is that you have the right skill set and the right temperament, attitude, aptitude to build stuff, and that is good enough for them. So, to students, I would really say that start building early on, start learning this stuff early on, and by the time you actually graduate, you should have your own repositories of of code and data sets that you could demonstrate to potential employers, right? That's what they want to see. Really, we hire people every day, and I mean, honestly, in my team, I hired a couple of people in the past few months, and I don't recall I ever noticed the university's name on their resumes. I really don't care at this stage.
That is a
Yeah.
good input, Dr. Sibtain, because I would say students and especially the parents' influence, they all are into the, they all want high-ranking colleges, Ivy League colleges. But at the end of the day, if they get through it, it's very good. But if they don't get through it also, still there are a lot of career options available, and they can be successful in their field.
Yeah,
Completely agree with that.
the way I see it is like, if you are going to one of those places which specialize in these subjects, so like data science and AI, they specialize in it. They have got excellent facility in it, faculty in it, and facilities in it. Then there will be a set path to execute. There will be a set course, and there'll be set actions to take to learn and understand this space and learn and understand this field. What happens in certain other universities, if they are not geared toward data science, they are not geared towards AI, is that there needs to be a lot of self initiative, and you need to work a lot on your own. And that is the point here, that if you have the initiative and you are ready to do that hard work on your own as well, whether your studies require them or not, the outcome can be same. So if you're going to an excellent university which specializes in it, and if you have gone to whatever university you are going to, but you have done a lot of work on your end, you have done a lot of personal projects, you have done a lot of research on your own end, you are comfortable working with data, you have something to show as your own initiative, the outcome will actually be pretty much same. And you both will be ready to face, I would say, employers in that space. So that is the only difference. The amount of hard work actually doesn't go down. The hard work, it's a matter of whether the college asks you to do that hard work or whether you do it yourself.
Okay, That's fair enough. Another question which I have for both of you is that what made realize that I want to work in data science and artificial intelligence, or it is something which I enjoy? Is
So
it a conscious decision, or it was a company decision and you started working on it? How did it? What made you go for this field?
yeah, that's interesting. So for me, I was already working on my PhD, and I was in my last year, and I was looking for jobs, roles, and opportunities where I could implement and stuff that I have learned, right? So one option for me after my PhD was to go for academia, right? Become some sort of lecturer or assistant
Yeah.
professor in a university, or the other was industry. And industry had way more options, right, in terms of what sort of vertical I would like to choose, what sort of area of research I could choose, what sort of products I could build and work on. So it was definitely more attractive for me to make the choice of industry. Data science was a natural fit because it was a continuation of the work that I was doing in my research. So it was not really too far from what I was doing previously.
All right. One question I have more for you, Dr. Sibtain. So you have done your engineering, you have done your MTech, and you have done your PhD. So have you done everything like start to end, or you have taken breaks, you have worked for some time, and then you have picked up these things?
So I did my bachelor's, and then I immediately started to work. I worked for 2 years, and I didn't do my master's actually. I
Okay.
I got a scholarship directly for a PhD program,
Okay.
so I started that right away. Many universities in the world don't really care about your master's degree, if you have it or not. They would just, if they find the right fit, and they have the right funding, and they have the right resources, they would just call you in for a PhD.
Oh, that's amazing. So what would you suggest? In fact, both of you can answer. A bachelor's degree, work for some years, and then go for higher education, or you should complete the whole set of because this field is of research and analysis, so it will take a lot of from information and research from your end. So what is there any tried and tested formula, or is there anything which you've learned through your experience that yes, this combination works better than the other?
See, um, I don't think there is any combination here that applies to this. It's all about your aptitude, your affinity towards the subject. Now, unlike what Sibtain had, like Sibtain pursued a career from an academic perspective as well, and then landed in this. If you look at my progression, it is not academically linked to data and AI, but I still am part of the data and AI ecosystem, and that is because there are so many different kind of roles that you can play in data science and AI space that need not be pure technical. So it all depends on your affinity to what is the function that you want to do. Do you want to sell? Do you want to analyze? Do you want to have depth in business on the business side? Do you want to be more of a business problem solver? Or rather, do you want to be a data person? Do you want to be a programming person? So there are so many flavors in which you can work in data science that actually at this point of time, I would say if somebody has the affinity for data science and AI, regardless of what educational background they have, they can find opportunities to work in it. I don't know. What do you think, Siptan?
No, I agree with that. That passion and that ability to work and build stuff definitely is a very strong factor behind how far you go in your career. But what I would say is, and I've had this question before as well, that did I get an advantage of getting a PhD and in my career? Um, when I compare it to my colleagues, I would say that it did set me back a couple of years you know. But then obviously, you're done with your graduation and everything, and while your colleagues are still thinking about postgraduate studies, right? So yes, I mean, if you're offered a chance to do masters for 1 year or 1.5 year, it's just not a bad thing to pursue it in the beginning, right in the beginning, and then jump into hands-on work.
All right. Now I have a very simple question for you. I just want to know from both of you, how is your typical day in your professional life? Because I'm asking this question because with data science, artificial intelligence, and with IT field, there also comes the IT glamour, which is high salary jobs, travel abroad, luxurious lifestyles. So I want to know from both of you, apart from all these, how is your typical day at your work?
Okay.
Go ahead, Umar.
Yeah, I can tell you from my perspective. So I am more on the sales and business development side of the house, and my typical day is involved in talking to customers about the kind of problems that they are having, and figuring out if there is a AI related solution, AI driven solution to them. It involves helping customers figure out whether they can make a business case to justify implementing AI. It also involves figuring out the right way in which we as a company need to propose a solution to the customer, because a same problem can have multiple ways of solving. So a large chunk of the time goes into figuring out that, okay, this customer has this problem. How do we solve this problem? What is the best way of solving this problem? And a lot of time also spends around the financials part of it. That, okay, how much is it going to take? Is it even, if a customer has a problem and it's going to take few millions to fix that problem, and the outcome is only going to help them with few thousands, hundred thousands of in return, is it worth doing it? So those kind of discussions happen. So it's my time is mostly spent on the customer side of the house, understanding their customers, figuring out solutions with them, and then other part also is spent on figuring out that, okay, what is it that we can tell customer in terms of what they may not know. So what are the problems we can solve for them, which they may not be even aware of? So a lot of customers are well aware, they know how AI can help them, but then there are a lot of customers who are not aware of how AI can help them. So we learn from what is happening in other customers, and then we try to go to other customers in the same industry and tell them that, okay, this is what is happening in your competition or in your other companies, and you can implement something similar as well. So that's how it works for me. And then a lot of time goes on the internal part as well, internal processes, internal tools. Every large company has a set process and a set way of doing things. So a lot of time is spent in making sure that we are giving the best proposal that we can to customers, that we are putting the best foot forward in front of the customer. So a lot of time goes internally as well as well for me.
All right. So what is the favorite part of your work? What do you enjoy the most doing?
For me, it's the customer conversations. I mean, every customer comes in a different flavor. No two customers in the same industry will ever give the same problem, which is very interesting. That every customer comes with a different problem. They all think that their problems are unique, which is not true. They everybody seems to have the same set types of problems, but they all have a different flavor of those problems. So talking to the customers, understanding their problems, being able to correlate those problems with our other customers is very gratifying in my role.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Now it's your turn, Dr. Sibtain. What is your professional day?
We work a lot, with roles like Umar, for example, like, the business side of people. We help them formulate that problem with the customers. Eventually every product, every solution has to solve a problem, and it has to either save money or generate money or make processes, more optimal for the people who work there or use them. So eventually, helping out with that business case. Then once we actually start working on the project, then it comes down to assessing the data, writing code. There are a lot of tools which keep on evolving day in and day out. So studying which are the best tools available to us to solve this particular problem. Again, creating experiments, failing in those experiments and learning from it and going back to the customer and say, hey, we thought that your data would behave like this, but that's not the case. Tell us more about your data generation process, and and their subject matter experts then teaching us from their side what their business really is and what that data really means, and us coming back and building a solution, a piece of artificial intelligence that is capable of automating stuff for them, basically taking over a lot of the intelligent human work that is being done in that organization and replacing it with machines. So, but then you need to understand what are the people that you're replacing, right? What exactly is their thought process? How do they work? What sort of data that they work in? What are the implications? What are the edge scenarios that show up like every 6 months or 1 year? Or, you have to understand and also educate people, for example, the product owners, like what will happen if this AI fails, right? To understand issues in your data set or predict something incorrectly, right? So, so a lot of our work goes there. Then, it's not just about writing code, but it's also productizing it. So what that means is you have to write an efficient piece of code so that it can work, with very less human involvement, and it doesn't break, and it can, handle exceptions, and so something more efficient and optimal. Yes. So building systems like that is our job.
All right. And which is your favorite part of the job?
so yes, I personally, among all other things, I enjoy writing code myself. So
Okay.
I would love to be hands-on, and I love to write code and build the thing myself. Yeah.
Great. So which makes me, I'm tempted to ask this question to both of you, that the kind of profession you are in with so much of extensive experience in this field, did you ever thought of at any point of your career, not now or earlier or whenever it is, that this your career is aligned with your passion? You are enjoying your work, or you took certain career path to align the work with the field you are in with the kind of work you want to do? Umar, do you
Go
want
ahead,
to
Umar.
talk about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. For me, it was more of a trial and error kind of a thing. So I stumbled upon my passions as I grew professionally. So I started as a developer, as a coder and a programmer, and then I got the opportunity to be in front of the customer very early in my life, and that actually told me, and that's when I felt that I feel best when I'm in front of the customer and I'm trying to understand their business. And
Mm-hmm.
that's slowly I realized my passion towards sales with that, and towards business with that. And but it was more of a trial and error. I mean, I did my engineering first, and without having any plan for doing any MBA or anything. It was over a period of time that I discovered my passions and my affinity and my interests. And so I took up MBA later in life as well, and then started making conscious choices of staying more in customer centric roles, far away, or rather a bit distance from the development from where I actually started. So for me, it has been more of a trial and error kind of a journey where I had to figure out things as they went along.
I think our generation is like that. We have found our passion through our experiences and
Mm.
hit and trial kind of, because there was no concept of career counseling at that point of time. There were only standard professions we need to pick up, and I think we were just replicating our family traditions and parents' choices at that point of time. What do you say, Dr. Sibtain?
Yes, I agree. You know what Umar said, that we start working on something. You know, we think that is our passion, and we would be successful doing that. And you know, once we realize, you know, we spend some time with it, we realize it's not something that we would want to do. This happens, you know, very often, and it's actually very normal. And that's how careers evolve. You know, even if you really love doing something, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you would love doing the same thing under pressure, right?
Yeah,
So you love
that's
painting,
another
but
story.
yeah, you love painting, but it doesn't mean that you want to do it for customers, right? Who are who are going to pressure you to get results out of it.
I think
So
that's the difference between hobby and passion.
yeah, true. So it's very hard to assess that at a young age when you're a student, you know, and you know you like maths, but does that mean you want to become a researcher? You're not sure. It's something that you will learn over time. But pursuing, you know, something your passion, and then realizing at a later stage this is not the right fit, and finding, you know, the next step in your life. I think that's very natural, and
Yeah.
that's a
So
worthwhile journey.
yeah, but see, like today, if I see the kids are more, I would say, cognizant, and the parents are more cognizant of making informed choices, right? So they take time, they make the effort of figuring
Yeah,
out the personality of their kids, the interests of their kids. They try to cultivate things from a very early age, young age,
yeah,
which is good actually, which will help in the long term, because this means that there may be less of those trial and errors. I mean, I don't see
yes,
this trial and error kind of a journey going away for any of us. I mean, also because they change over time. So we may
yeah.
lose, we may discover new things as we start working, and then that may become our passion. I mean, we know so many people who change their jobs from God knows what to God knows what, right? Like
People
this,
just grow out of their
yeah.
roles, you know.
Like we know someone who was a very hot IT top shot, and that guy ended up being a scuba diver for life, right? So there are examples like this everywhere. So you they will evolve over time, but I think having that clarity in the beginning may set you up for a strong foothold to start
Mm,
with. I mean, you may
yes.
have a stronger starting.
Yes, and I strongly, if you are able to assess your strengths early on, you know,
Yeah.
and start building on a career on that, um, I think it will set you up for success and give you more options in the future if you want to, you know, even change that.
Yeah.
I would say that I meet a lot of parents in day-to-day life, and I can see the evolution of parents as well. They are more conscious about their children's liking. They don't force them for any particular. They of course give their choices and subconscious desires, but they do consider about what
Yeah,
their child want to do.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So now I have another question that what is, if one piece of advice you need to give to the people who are going to be freshers in the industry or new to the industry, what is one thing which you will tell them so that they can do well in this field?
Sounds good. Maybe I should go ahead over first. So, especially in data science, if you want to become a hands-on data scientist, you should keep in mind that first of all, keep in touch with the industry itself. You know, read articles and see what exactly is happening and evolving. Data science has become a very broad term now. It encapsulates natural language processing, computer vision, financial analysis, forecasting, and a lot many things, right? So you can't be an expert in everything, and that is something that people should accept and try to become a specialist in one area, right? So read more, explore more in that, try to understand if you know, hands-on development is required in that area. It will be required for sure, but then try to understand what sort of platforms are being used in this, you know, contemporary platforms are being used, and what are making a difference. You know, that will play around with those, experiment with those, see if that is something you're comfortable doing, right? Now, we have had examples of data scientists that were extremely, you know, efficient mathematicians, but not great hands-on developers, not something that they wanted to do as part of a career, right? And they just stepped out of the data science role. So so try to understand these small important things that have to be, skill sets that have to be tick marked before you can enter that field. Once you do that and you see that that list is complete and you strike all those ticks and you're comfortable as well, not just you're capable, but also comfortable of doing that, right? Then I think you're basically setting yourself for success.
That's a good input.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think the good thing about data science and AI is that it's a very young professional field at this point of time. I mean, this field, it's not that the education was not there for this. AI has been there for decades now. I mean, actually, but the mainstreaming of this field has been very recent. I mean, you would have started seeing this, and that is linked directly to the advent of cloud as cloud became more ubiquitous and more available, and it gave a lot of power to compute. AI actually started becoming mainstream. So that's why cloud, as the cloud rose, the AI has risen. So what this means is that it's a new field relatively in terms of technology, which means that nobody really expects you to have 20 years of experience in data science, right? So nobody's looking for a veteran data scientist when it comes to that, which means that if you are able to pick up some pet projects, and the other good thing about today's age is that data, if you really look for data, you will find data, a lot of it, if you look for it. So there is a lot of data available today on development sites. A lot of data sets are available today. The technology and the open source technologies are available today to play with that data. So I would say that people should take up some pet project, and they should create a pet project and work with large amounts of data and see what they can infer, and try to play with it and get a feel of how things are. It will also give you insight into whether you are fit for it. As Sib was saying, that you may find yourself that you may not enjoy the programming part of it, and you will be able to discover those things in it as well. It will give you a real world experience as well, working with this data, doing your pet projects, give you more confidence when you go for these things. So I would, one recommendation I would make is, on top of what Sip said, is that have a pet project and be ready with that pet project to spend time programming yourself, spending time with data, and that will be very helpful later on.
So one thing I would like to add, which is new, and it is very specific to this generation and the upcoming generations, and it wasn't the thing in the previous generations, is that now people would like to see more proof, of your capabilities, right? Like 20 years ago, if you're an engineer, you're an engineer. You'll get a job of an engineer, and that's all. You just need to show your degree, and that's all, right?
Job and respect.
Yes, exactly. And now things have changed, right? So now they would like to see proofs, or hints or clues, like, okay, of what you have done. They would like to say, okay, can you show us your GitHub repository? If you have written a paper, can you send me that paper? I would like to read that up before we meet for an interview, right? They would, I wouldn't say proof as in proof, like more like hints and clues that whoever they're hiring, they're sure that this person will be able to deliver, right? If you are a web developer, they would say, okay, show me some links of websites that you have developed, right? If you are going to be a software engineer, just try, during that interview, let's show me how you can code that, how you can make changes to that code. So yes, if you are into that area and passionate about that area, you will know the ins and outs of those, and you will be able to answer those questions very successfully. So, and even in academia, whenever they look for scholarships, they look for these hints and clues whether this person is going to be able to do this thing or not, right? It's an investment, right? So they want to be sure about that.
And I can add to one thing on what just now Sibtain said, that if you do this, and if you're able to show that proof of your how much close you are to that subject, and how much personal you are with that subject, everything else takes a backseat. Your educational background, your years of experience, everything becomes secondary. If they realize that you know what you're talking about, that you have had your hands dirty, and that you have experienced this, and you are able to speak in that language, and you're able to relate with that person who's talking to you, so then everything else takes a backseat. And I think that's also an important thing, that when you go into those interviews, or you're gunning for a particular role, it's very important that you have had some very close and personal type of project which you can showcase as proof, as Sibtain was saying, that you can put forward.
True.
Yeah. So one question I would like to ask: what are the entry positions which a fresher should look for in the field of data science and artificial intelligence? What are the roles which are open to take freshers in that field, like data scientist, data analyst, what, you know,
Yeah,
or robotics?
exactly. Yeah, that's a good question. So, you may find so there are data science roles that are directly open as data science roles, right? Then there are data analyst roles. Then you may find quantitative analysts or quants. Then people could become more specific in posting jobs, and they may say we need vision experts or natural language processing experts. Then you may find a lot of architect roles that are very relevant to data science. A lot of consultant roles, that if you read their description, they are basically looking for a data scientist, right?
Wranglers.
Exactly, data wranglers. So these are how they would advertise. But a lot of software engineering roles, in terms of their descriptions, are actually very close to data science profiles. So they may not call it data scientist as such. They may not even get the title of a data scientist, but technically what they're doing is data science, and yeah.
Yeah, so as data science is mainstreaming, which means that it will become one of those must-have skills that you may need to have in the future. So, as if you are a software programmer, it won't be enough to know C++ or Python or any of that. Data science may be one of the things that you may have to be aware of. It may become more of a core skill. And that is where it's trending right now. I think in the next few years, we will see data science as an assumed skill from all the software programming jobs that are coming up. So that is one thing. Then the other thing is that this was the technical part of it, but then there is a whole set of roles and jobs that are non-technical. So
Yeah, I wanted to come on that point. Yeah.
yeah, so analysts, for example, analysts are actually not technical people. They are more they look at specific problems, they go into the depth of those problems, they try to find out whether it makes sense to solve those problems. So analyst is a very different kind of a role. It need not be technical. So analyst is another role, which and you can have an entry role analyst roles as well, especially in non-IT industry. An analyst role is possible to have an analyst role at an entry level, and that may be actually a good thing, because you will get to know and learn about an industry itself, which I think will be more of a niche going forward. That you are an analyst for manufacturing, so you know what happens in a manufacturing industry. So that will be a more valuable skill, knowing that industry going forward. And then there are general kind of roles which are, regardless of whether it's data science or of its hair oil, it is required, which is, you need sales. Sales is required, marketing is required for all these roles. Finance roles will always be required in there as well. So you will have these roles which are more of horizontals, which cut across industries. They will always be required in data science space as well, and there will be opportunities. So what it means is, it doesn't matter if you are a marketeer or if you are a salesperson. If your passion lies with data science, there is scope of using the skills you have and aligning it with your passion for data science and AI. You will have opportunities.
All right. That's a wonderful discussion we had right now. Thank you for these wonderful insights. I think we have last 15 minutes left, and I would like to ask people who are there with us, if they have any questions, they can either unmute themselves and ask, or they can write it in the chat box and I can ask it for you. Any questions?
Oh, we have been super clear, I think.
Of course.
This is not allowing to unmute.
1 second. Just do it.
Hi, Meghna. Hi, Umar.
Hey, Manik.
It's a great discussion today, and I mean, I've been recommended by your friend who lives in my house that I should attend, and it was definitely much more than what I expected. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions from the panel. The first one is that so I recently finished my master's in machine learning from University of Maryland. After I was asked, I mean, anyway, so when I go for an interview, for instance, then uh, they it's a very vast field actually that I understand. Like for instance, in the case of machine learning, they ask questions on how to implement a complete processing chain, ML ops processing chain, and the questions start from, for instance, Hive, Kafka, and the data wrangling part of the whole processing chain. And then they also expect me, I mean, they expect me to do to answer questions on something that that is really not, I guess, is not a part of machine learning directly, because a machine learning expert should know more about how he does clustering or training and things like that. So is it normal, or like am I going in the wrong direction, applying at the wrong places? This is my first question. Yeah, and I have another one, but if you can...
Okay, we'll take it one by one. Dr. Sibtain, you want to answer on that?
Yeah, sure.
I think he's on your track.
Yes, I do believe, and I completely agree with that because it's a very vast field. It's very hard to find the right set of questions when employers they look for data scientists and get into interviews. What they should ask for are basic concepts, right? The ability to produce something and write some code and implement that should be the basic thing that you should try to get from somebody who you're interviewing. Getting into specific platforms and their intricate details, I agree that doesn't help. Unless they have a very, very specific product that they're working on and they are specially looking for an expert in that area. For example, Kubernetes, right? So if they're looking for a Kubernetes expert that can help develop their product, then that should be specified in the job description that we are actually looking for this expert, right? The title could still be a data scientist, but the description should say, if you're not a Kubernetes expert, this may not be the role for you.
So if I could add to that, there are two types of places in which you may find data science roles coming up. One of them would be on the product side, where people are building products which need data science elements in it, and then there are services industries, right, where data science scientists are providing or helping solutions for different customers. That's a big arm, which is the services industry, coming up with custom solutions and all. So as Sibtain was saying, if the line of questioning is that specific, as you mentioned, then you are pretty much applying to places where there are products. That is how it sounds. What you may look for is, and that would be something which I would advise, is where there is a broad range of services or implementation requiring data science skills there. That is where you may find yourself having more applicability, because there the target solution is not known what you'll end up building. What is required is that do you have the foundation to build that solution or not? That is the more important thing. And do you have the aptitude of solving that problem? So services industry may be more geared. I don't know, Sibtain, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So again, you know, there's no right or wrong way defined of taking interviews, right? And assessing skill sets. Usually you will find that, you know, when you jump into interviews, they'll ask you about your past projects, and then all follow-up questions should be around that, right? How you try to solve that. But then, as Umar said, that some organizations are just focused on building some products, and they're looking for very specific needs in that product. They don't really care about your past experience or your certifications or expertise, right? And then there are product companies, and then there are services companies. Services, they're not really looking for a specific skill. They're looking for a broad set of skill sets, right? So that they can hire this person, and this person can then just be try to be a master of all things, right? Just try to fix customers' problems all across the board. So completely depends on you know, whether they're looking for a broad spectrum type approach or a narrow one. So yeah.
Okay. Manik, you had some other question as well, right?
Yeah, I have, the other question is what role does referrals play in getting interviews or getting hired?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, referrals play a big role in getting hired. Okay, regardless of what people may think, somebody who is referred internally has weightage, but it also matters the size of the organization matters. Okay, so referrals in a very large organization are not as effective as referrals in a smaller organization. So in a small organization, referrals are much better in working because you've got fewer people. Those fewer people know each other. But in a large organization where everything is more like a referral through a portal where you're putting a name of a person there, the hiring manager may not know you who is referring. There it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't say it gives any edge over that. But knowing people, people like to hire people like themselves, first of all. Second, people like to have people they know more than just the interview rounds that they do. So yes, referrals play an important role, and the connection or the it goes beyond the interviews as well, is what I would say.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yeah, Manik, do you have more?
So actually, one good point that I think Umar mentioned earlier was about maintaining a GitHub profile. So so I also have a GitHub profile. That, but the thing is that is it possible to get that profile reviewed because I come from a different background. Actually, I work closely with NASA, and we do completely different work. And this is a field which I want to go to. So I don't know if my GitHub profile is something that that is along the expected lines of the recruiter.
So recruiters don't really go through your GitHub profile, or they don't read your code or try to execute that. What they generally do is they look at that profile, and then they share that with the hiring managers or the interviewers to look for hints that if this person has done relevant stuff, right? And that's all the purpose that it serves. To a hiring manager or an interviewer, yes, they will get the confidence that they need, that yes, okay, this person is perfect, or this person is not perfect, but he's nearly there, right? He's with a little bit more effort, he can do that. Okay, he's familiar with these libraries. They won't really be picky and say, okay, that code was incorrectly written or inefficiently written. don't really get into that. That's a completely different topic. So about having profiles reviewed, I think that's a good practice. Even if you write a paper, you have that peer reviewed. You can just ask a colleague or a friend to go through your profile and see if there are any issues with the code that you have written, or if it's even executable. So it's just it's a good practice in general, but really it's not something that interviewers would really worry about too much.
That would be great. I think, Manik, if you need certain more further kind of a discussion, you can probably connect with me and I can help you out in getting all your other queries answered.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think we have a question on from Ganesh about certification. Yeah. So certification from which institution is best recommended for data science and AI when applying for a job?
It's a very nice question.
Sibtain.
That's a very nice question, and it's a kind of a controversial question. I will say Microsoft, but the thing is, you see, these days there are platforms and frameworks that are more dominant than the others in the open source communities, and that's what matters. For example, TensorFlow is a Google product. It's an open source product, and they provide certifications for it. They never did that for a long time, but since last year they decided to provide certifications in it because that's also a source of revenue, and a lot of people do that. And it is a good thing. If I am an interviewer and I see a Google certification of TensorFlow, I would be extremely glad to see that. And and similarly, there are platform-specific certifications. Certifications in Azure or Google Cloud Platform or Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
Again, extremely important.
Yeah. So to add to what Sibtain is saying, thankfully, data science and AI is a field where they really don't draw swords over whether it's Microsoft or Google. Okay, so all open source is appreciated, and they respect each other well. And I think that's something to draw on. Nobody's going to drop you because you have a TensorFlow certification or a Microsoft certification. Okay, they are seen as positives. But what are these certifications for? You do these certifications to make the first impression. That's it. After that, it's you and your knowledge, right? So you only use certifications to gain the first impression and to establish your initial credibility, and then it's going to be what have you done, what are the pet projects that you have worked on, how deep are you into those subjects. They will matter after that. So you choose. Basically, our recommendation is Microsoft certifications.
That's so much expected. He has another question. Does experience matter?
Yes, experience matters. Yes. Does experience, how much of it matters and how much of it is enough is the question, right? Is 1 year enough or 10 years enough? So if you have done a super highly complex solution or something like a product for 1 year, you may be 4 to 5 years of equivalent of experience of a solution experience, of a services experience, right? So it depends what kind of experience you have. For somebody who is starting fresh, what matters is the kind of pet projects you have done, your private projects, the GitHub projects that you have, and those are the things that you would need to showcase. But as of now, as I said earlier as well, nobody really expects 20 years experienced data scientist. It's not possible.
All right. I think we are just on time. Any more questions? Please feel free to ask.
Yes. Good evening, all. I'm Kanak and I'm pursuing computer engineering. I'm in second SEM and I would like to know that on which course should I focus more so that I can get a good placement?
Or
Kanak, which stream you said? Which stream you are doing?
Computer science.
Computer science engineering.
And you are in the final year?
No, second SEM.
Second SEM. Too early. I like it. You're planning it way ahead. Yeah.
That's a very good thing that you want to start early in this. And if you want to find a placement in artificial intelligence and machine learning, focus on polishing your skills in Python. At least now this is the community accepted way forward, that programming language. And then start building your repository and start doing projects. That's one of the fastest way of learning AI. Start building computer vision projects, for example.
One more thing which I should have mentioned when GitHub was being discussed is you need not have projects which are owned by you and being done by you only. You can be part of larger projects which are being done, and you can be part of those teams. And that is very valuable experience as well. If you are one of the 50 members who are developing a very visible open source product, I mean, that's a wonderful thing to write, and that's a wonderful place to learn as well. So skill-wise, as Sibtain mentioned, and I would say get yourself involved into these community projects as much as you can. Even if you're not contributing that much, you will get a lot to learn.
I agree.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I think we have just hit the clock as well. Thank you everyone for taking up your time on this weekend and joining here. And to my audience who have joined, thank you so much for coming in. And if you have any other questions which you think it cannot be taken up right now, you can always, I've shared my WhatsApp number and email ID. You can please write to us. I think Ganesh wants to ask one last question. Are there any jobs which include both AI and data science together? I think I can also answer this now.
Lots of them, yeah, lots of them. There's no shortage.
Most of them, yes.
Most of them.
It is expected for a data scientist to be, an expert in so many things these days.
Yes.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you for joining in. Have a nice weekend ahead. And we'll come up with our next profession webinar very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sibtain. Thank you, Umar, for joining.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.